before we were, and we're live. I see it. And welcome back to A Mighty Blaze. It is Pub Day Tuesday. I'm Robin Kall on behalf of A Mighty Blaze, reading with Robin and our guest, Amy Jo Burns. Isn't this exciting? On Pub Day Tuesday, and Shiner is just out in the world. Visit amyjoburns.com and find her on Instagram, on Facebook. Where else are you lurking?
Twitter. I'm everywhere.
Out today by Riverhead. It is so gorgeous, and it's well, we're going to talk about it. So I'm very excited. It's Cinco de Mayo Pub Day. Woo! What does today? I mean, I realize it's a different kind of pub day than you probably thought, but I mean, Amy Jo and I were talking because I was busy smelling her book. It feels luxurious. And it's luxurious. I mean, so what was it like to see those books arrive, and did you have to disinfect them? I don't know when they arrived.
You know, it was interesting. So it took a little bit of time for them to get to me because there was a backup at the warehouse, I think, but I saw the box and I knew right away what it was. And so I let it sit on my porch for 24 hours and then I brought it in, and it was really special because I got to open it. My husband was there. Usually he's at work, and my kids were there. So it was like a really fun moment to open the box. And I mean, when you sit down and write a book, it's so hard to imagine that you're going to get to hold it in your hands. I mean, it's wild, you know. So I still have the box. It's in my foyer, so I pass it 8 times a day, and I just look in there.
There's a silver lining, like you said. You might have been home by yourself, and I don't know if you would have been able to wait till everyone came home. I would.
Yeah, I know. So it was. I had, you know, a group to celebrate with, so that was nice.
It started out in an exciting way, and the fun continues. Let me give you a little introduction from your very own flat. Here on A Mighty Blaze today on Pub Day Tuesday. Amy Jo Burns is the author of the memoir Cinderland. Her writing has appeared in Good Housekeeping, Salon, Electric Literature, Tin House, Literary Hub, Plowshares, the Paris Review Daily, and the anthology Not That Bad. So Shiner is your debut novel. And so you've been published in all of my favorite kinds of places. So now the novel. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Are so excited to celebrate on A Mighty Blaze. And, you know, it's been quite a day. It has been quite, but we're just like juggling books. It's like
so many good books out today.
So many, you're awesome company. And you know, the good news is there's a ton of readers out there. So there's everybody, read them all. That's and I love that. I love a book that's set, you know, where the place is such a character, set in Appalachia, or is it Appalachia? I mean, it's Appalachia, right?
I say Appalachia, yes.
Adriana Trigiani told me to say Appalachia, so that's what I do. And David Baldacci and whoever else, they say Appalachia. So says it. That's what I'm saying. And I, so like right away, I remember when the description came, and I was like already hooked, certainly, but then there's something about that place. I read Stay and Fight last summer, Ellen Fitch. I don't know if you know the book, and set in Appalachia, and I was just so taken with that book more than I would have even, I don't know what I was expecting. The setting and the people and the just everything about it was like true, like storytelling, and just really spoke to me in that way, as this does. So what should we know about this book? There are no spoilers on A Mighty Blaze. I always say that. Don't worry, we're not going to spoil anything. And there's just so many things that are interesting to talk about, from the church and the snakes and the moonshine, and what research did you do? And did you make a special batch to celebrate the book?
So I haven't made moonshine, but what I did do is I made strawberry lemonade, and then I added some moonshine to it, and it was delicious.
Really, really good. I also like the whole lore of moonshine and where it came from, and what, and the stories and the darkness, and you know, that's what's always so interesting. Something you know about, but like really think about, where did it come from? Why? How did it, you know, get, you know, how was it allowed, you know, what were the conditions ripe for creating moonshine? You know, sort of moonshine, and but like it's a really great, you know, there are a lot of really great stories. So So yeah, tell us about what first came to you for an idea with the book.
Sure. So, I mean, for people who haven't heard much about the book, it's about a 15-year-old girl named Wren. She lives a really secluded life in the mountains of West Virginia with her parents. And her dad is a local legend because he got struck by lightning when he was young and becomes a snake handling preacher. And so Wren witnesses her father perform this really strange miracle, and then her life starts to unravel along with all of her family secrets. So that's sort of the beginning of the novel, and it's told through 3 different narrators. One is Wren, another one is a reclusive housewife, and then the last is a lovelorn moonshiner. And all those voices work together to tell the true story behind this legend that everybody believes is true. And, you know, since you mentioned moonshine, I'll just say that was the biggest surprise of the novel for me. I loved learning about it and writing about it. I was researching, you know, I'm from Northern Appalachia, but I was doing some research to just fill in some gaps. And I came across all these incredible stories about moonshine and the way it's made and who makes it. And what I discovered was that, yes, it's whiskey, but it represents so much more. It's this cultural footprint, you know, it's a family heirloom. It represents families spending time around the fire and things that are passed from parent to child. And it just holds a really special place in American history, but then also in the hearts of people, you know, not only through Appalachia, but also through the South. So I was so happy to be able to honor it in the novel.
Yeah, that's the texture and the richness that comes through in the story. And there's nothing like secrets and passing down stories. And we've been talking, I mean, you know, the authors are telling a story and everything comes from somewhere, and the secrets, you realize like how many secrets there are, and like how many secrets will never get out, or they get out the wrong way, or they're, you know, the stories are passed down, and you know, it's like playing telephone, or who has the last say in the story. I always find that so fascinating because we all have different takes on a story, but you've got this very interesting character. So the snake handler's daughter, and also a 15-year-old coming of age is always interesting to me. That's that age where things can go one way or the other, you know, or start down a path. And it's always an interesting thing. And yeah, so tell us about the church and the healing and faith, and sort of staying true to where you've grown up, like where your roots are.
Yeah. So, I mean, so like you said, Wren is 15, and at the very beginning of the novel, in the first 10 pages, like I mentioned, she sees her dad do this really strange thing that everybody thinks is a miracle. And the journey that Wren goes on is to realize that she's been taught to look for miracles in her life in all the wrong places. And part of growing up is her learning where to look in the right places for those miracles. And so, you know, the act of snake handling and faith and things like that, it sort of sets the tone for it. But it's also a story just about feeling misunderstood, because, you know, when we hear those terms like snake handling or, you know, faith healing, all those things, you know, people think, oh, that's weird, you know, but I really wanted to tell a story about what it's like to live that life and to feel misunderstood.
And I love that you dedicated it to your parents.
Yeah.
Who gave me everything they never had. That was really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It's, that's what, you know, we want for our children. That's what we want to pass down, everything we can give our children. So, yeah. So how, like, what was the first spark of this story? Or was it a short story you'd written, or was it something you've been working on for a while, or sort of honoring the place?
You know, I think the inspiration, they came from a few different places. I will say, so the mother in the novel, her name is Ruby. She's very loosely based on my grandmother, but my grandmother was somebody who made everything with her hands. She loved to sew. She always put other people first. And she was so practical, but she had a real appreciation for beauty and beautiful things. And she liked to make beautiful things with her hands. So I wanted to find a way to honor what I think were her hidden stories, and I have no idea what they are because I never asked before she passed away. So a lot of the novel is about what those secrets and untold stories might be that were never passed from mother to daughter and why they were never passed on. So that is something I really wanted to write about, a strong bond between a parent and a child, but there's also still so much silence in that space. Um, and yeah, go ahead.
Like you were saying that you wouldn't have asked your grandmother because there were a lot, I don't know, maybe now there's a more sense of things like, you want to know every story. I mean, I know we talk about so many things in our family, and I was always very curious, but I know generations past, we've had this conversation, like, I never thought to ask. I don't know, or I know things that like maybe the other generation doesn't know because I asked. But, then when you no longer can, it's like you want to know everything. And so
Exactly.
you fill it in, in some way, you imagine it, you tell a story. So in fact, that's what you can write your own narrative in that case. If you say it, that's where it is.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember, like, one of the things I hope comes across in the novel is that family secrets started out as secrets probably for a good reason. And sometimes keeping those secrets means survival.
Yeah.
And that is very true for some of the characters in the novel. But the flip side of that is that keeping secrets over the course of a lifetime takes its toll. And because of those secrets, a lot of people sort of choose to live these isolated lives. And what ends up happening is that nobody has the full story. Every single character that we see holds a bit of it and is sort of that guardian of some piece of the story. So part of Ren's journey is taking those pieces, putting them together, and then deciding what it looks like for her to take that next step forward as she, comes of age.
Ren Bird, I love that. Did it become fully formed to you like that? That was very clever, obviously.
I had first names very easily. I think last names just took some time. I wanted to give names that really felt true to the region. So I did a lot of digging in sort of, obscure places to find names that I felt would represent the characters well.
Yeah. What did you wind up digging up that you were really surprised by, or that may or may not have made it into the book, but it's still up there?
There's a lot about how moonshine is made that was in the original manuscript just because I got so into it, but it ended up not being super pertinent to the story. But moonshiners are such artists. I mean, it's incredible what goes into making a bottle of moonshine. I mean, you can't even tell the beginning from the end because it comes from corn from your neighbor down the street, and you get the water from the spring outside your house. And there's sort of this sort of continual, life cycle, and the way that people learn how to make it. And I mean, all it takes is corn, water, heat, and a copper pot, and then you need patience and
patience. You had a pot, but now patience.
Yeah. And
how long does it take? Like, what
so it depends on how hot it is outside, but from sort of corn kernel to mason jar, probably about 2 weeks is what it takes. But I mean, I think what the moonshiners that I studied and what they gave me, and I think what ends up hopefully showing up in the novel, is sort of what it means to have faith. I mean, they do this thing day in, day out, even when they're maligned and they're misunderstood for what they're doing. They sort of maintain their practice and they're loyal to it. And oftentimes a batch will get ruined, a bear will get into it, or, police will come and sort of dump it out. That stuff happens all the time. And then it's so much work lost, but they have such faith in themselves and faith in their land, and sort of realizing that what they provide is more than just whiskey. They're providing a tradition for people that they love.
Yeah, a continuity. And
yes.
Faith is a very strong theme. And I know that this would be a fabulous book club pick because there's and plus then you serve moonshine. I'm tempted, I'm in my basement office. I'm tempted to get up because I know there's a mason jar of moonshine in there. I forget where we were traveling, and it was like, let's get some. And I can, if I had been thinking a little bit you know, if it wasn't Pub Day Tuesday and a crazy,
Yeah.
I would have had a little forethought, but yeah, there's just something mystical or, you know, just, and not even knowing all this, but it's always sort of held that place for me, the way I, you know, where I put that, like, oh,
Hmm.
shine, you know, I could just sort of hear the music and see the people and, like you say, the campfire and people,
Hmm.
you know, and all of that. So, um,
Which is interesting because I feel the same way when I look at the bottles that I have. It reminds me of some moment of togetherness, whether it was with my husband or visiting you know, somewhere with my family, that kind of thing. And it's such a gift that they give us because it's made in isolation, right? I mean, you can't do it in front of people, and yet it creates this real sense of community.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so. And why in such secrecy? Like, what is the history of that as opposed to, you know, I mean, everything is sort of out there. So, like,
So it depends now. I mean, something that's really interesting is that moonshine is becoming legal more and more. And it was illegal for a long time because, I mean, moonshine came over with the Scotch Irish when they came in like the late 1700s, and they brought their stills to Western Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from. Um, and they didn't understand the need to pay taxes on it. I mean, for them, it was just sort of this thing that they did,
right,
that
like a
they
little
gave to
side gig.
people.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's, you know, there was this era of self-sufficiency, understandably, because when you're living in the mountains, you're going to need to find your own food. You're going to need to find your own water, you know, your own heat, your own alcohol. So it started out as people just not wanting to pay taxes. And then it, you know, the idea of bootleggers kind of running alcohol all over the United States came along with prohibition. But
Right.
because of those things, you know, moonshiners sort of have this reputation to be, you know, skirting the law. And when really, I think it was just sort of, you know, a matter of fact. And now that it's becoming easier and easier to legalize it, I think there's real value in being able to put your name on something that you stand behind, and this thing of quality that you've made with your hands. So I think more and more moonshiners are saying, yeah, you know, if I can do it legally, I'd love to put my name on it because I believe in it, you know?
It's so cool because, yeah, things start out for a reason, and the secret may or may not serve anymore, but that becomes part of the story. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I did not know. I think that's fascinating. So, I mean, yeah, there's so many things to talk about. And you have, I think this came with the still.
Yeah.
You can see it. I
Yep.
still
In the middle there. Mm-hmm.
can't tell when I'm like left or right. You
Yeah.
take questions. It's this way or that way, and I can't flip it or side of my around in my head. But I love that you did the research and, yeah, the snake handling and all of this. And what is the response? I mean, the book just came out today, and go to amyjoburns.com and find her on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And so, I mean, there are early books out, but what have you heard from, you know, people that live in this area or people that you grew up around,
Mm-hmm.
way of honoring that whole tradition? So,
Yeah, you know what? That's been one of my favorite things about this, is to get to talk to people from Western Pennsylvania and from West Virginia about it, because it sort of feels like returning home for me. I mean, people reading it and understanding my point of view, and having conversations about, I think, love of landscape and how much of our concept of home has to do with the trees that surround us and the water, and how much of our identity is found in that. That's been a really wonderful thing to talk with people about. I also think something else that's been really rewarding is thinking through how we express faith, and not just, you know, faith in God, obviously, but faith in each other and faith in the ground that we stand on and how we nurture it, and how faith is mostly expressed through love, I think has been really nice to hear people repeat that back to me. I mean, you know, when you write a book, you're so in it, and then to have somebody come back and say, this is what I got from it, you know, is really special.
exciting thing. I mean, you have your early readers, and there's some of that, but now the book is out there.
Yeah.
People have so much time to read, and really, from a lot of the themes in the book and talking about faith and you know, what's ours and what we sort of co-opt. There's a lot of time to just think in general.
Mhm.
And so people are having way more conversations because where are they going? I mean, people are very ultra busy on Zoom
Yeah.
and making appointments and stuff, but mostly if it's not business, they're talking, they're visiting, they're telling stories. I mean, I know people are doing like family histories in this way,
Yeah.
recording, because everyone's sharing all this, like we do this, we could do that, but
Mhm.
get a few generations on together and tell the stories. Everyone's talking over everyone too, but you're getting like the essence, and it's a really, that tradition of passing down stories.
Yeah.
And you can just record it easily like that. So I think a lot of these conversations are happening, and it's like the perfect book. Plus, it feels really good.
Does.
Shiner by Amy Jo Burns, and it's out today on Cinco de Mayo Pub Day Tuesday. And what are some of the things? Oh, and yeah, Christina, you have Jocelyn Jackson, Christina Baker Klein,
Mhm.
Anton Disclafani, which I love her.
Such a fan.
The After Party, and
Mhm.
I haunt Anton because I'm always like, when's book coming out?
When you find out, let me know.
I will. There have been a few dates, but I loved that After Party book,
Mhm.
and also Last Day School.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
remember the title, but the After Party, I remember the title exactly. So what are your hopes for the characters without giving anything away? Just maybe for Ren. Like what
Mhm.
are your hopes for Ren?
My hopes for Ren, as I mentioned before, are really that she is able to find the real miracles, the flesh and blood miracles that surround her and the women who have raised her. I hope that she takes those stories with her. I hope that she is somebody who, as I mentioned, has grown up in isolation. And, I never thought we would be able to relate so much to somebody like that when the book came out. But what we're trying to do right now in isolation is figure out, how are we going to tell this story of what we went through when we were in isolation, when we get to return to our communities? What are we going to take from this? What are we going to wish we had done differently? What are we going to celebrate? And I think that is what I hope for Ren, that she's able to honor the women who have gone before her and go through a hard time and sort of take their lessons of perseverance and resilience along with her.
I love that. Yeah. Could you ever imagine that when this book was coming out, May 2020, it would be, there are a lot of books that we're talking about in a different way. I mean, certainly some of these would come up, but looking through the lens of right now, you can't help but do that, where you go, huh, that author was awfully clever to set her book to come out during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And
And I think, if nothing else, I mean, I think the longings that we feel for the people we love, it's painful. And Ren feels it in the novel. She has this longing to sort of press beyond her boundaries. It's a sign of life.
Yes.
That longing is hard, but it's a sign of life.
Yes, it is. It's Sumon Kids. We did the what's her title? The Something Longings.
The Book of Longings, right? Yes.
The Book of Longings. And
I'm a big fan of hers too.
I talked to her, it feels like months ago. Was it last week or the week before? Like the Book of Longings, and then Jamie Brenner was on after you. And have Summer Longing, and we are all longing. I mean,
we are.
we're longing for a long time, Amy Jo.
I know.
Oh my goodness. And what's another book that you'd like to share? I always like to know. Right, and I see books, right? I see you. Are those your bookshelf? Is that your book?
Oh yeah. So this is one that I share with my husband. So it's funny because there's all these, literary titles, and then there's like chemistry, and those are not.
I'm not nosy, but I'm like, it looks like a nice little mix of fiction. And I see like my husband's books look like that. When we were married, I was like, get your books.
Yeah. So I, like you said, have been doing some really wonderful reading. I just finished What You Become in Flight, which is by Ellen O'Connell Whitted, and it is a memoir about the body and pain and moving on from a lost dream, and it is amazing. It's a memoir. I know that you also talked with Kate. This is a stunning coming of age story about a fire and a young woman who rides with horses. It's fantastic.
Agreed.
And then have you read this?
Yes, I had Sarah Sliger on last week. Yeah, Sarah Sliger rhymes with tiger. That's what they told me.
This book, about women, mental illness, art. I mean, it's a page turner, but it's so deep. So, yeah, I've read so many good books.
I love that you had them right there.
I was ready. I was hoping you would ask.
I know. So, and usually I will tell the publicist, I may ask or whatever, give a heads up, but it's just been like this. So
yeah,
I love that. You are welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
three winners. Well, the first one I didn't know, so will you send me a message? Because
yes, I would love to. And she's so smart and able to talk about so many things. So yes, I will make sure it gets to you.
Thank you very much. I love your list.
Thank you.
Page. It's out today. It's Shiner by Amy Jo Burns, and go visit her site at amyjoburns.com. Put this one on your list. Tell your book club. You'll be really cool because people will be like, wow, it wasn't set during World War II.
I'll visit your book club. I would love to.
That's so cool. Yeah. So go to Amy Jo Burns and you can send her a message, and also ask me and I'll put you in touch. And thank you so much. And I'm so glad we got to celebrate your pub day on A Mighty Blaze.
Thank you so much. This was a real treat for me. Thank you so much, Robin. Stay safe.
You too. Keep reading.